It's the number that for some finally confirms the US is in a recession. Or does it? The economy shrank just under 1% in the last 3 months, on top of another contraction in the quarter before that, meeting one definition of a recession. But inevitably, in the most polarised political climate on record, where it's increasingly difficult to agree on the most basic objective facts, it's also hard to agree on whether those numbers represent a recession. And to a degree, that's understandable, because the US economy is difficult to read right now. Despite these back-to-back contractions, annual growth is on course to be a respectable 2.3%. Unemployment is back to pre-pandemic lows, and consumer demand, while softening, is still there. And yet none of this would matter quite so much if inflation wasn't the highest for 40 years, fast eroding all of the gains the economy made when it roared back to life after the worst of the pandemic. President Biden remains bullish, mindful of the adverse psychology behind the word recession, because businesses and consumers can trigger one by reducing their economic activity through fear.
The Inflation Reduction Act will add another $370 billion in clean energy tax credits in reconciliation, including incentives to accelerate domestic production of solar panels, wind turbines, batteries, and critical materials processing. That doesn't sound like a recession to me.
And having raised its benchmark interest rate steeply again on Wednesday to try to cool that rampant inflation by lowering demand through more expensive credit, the US central bank shares Biden's view.
I do not think the US is currently in a recession. And the reason is there are just too many areas of the economy that are performing, too well.
The drums and bugles signal the moment the record crowd of over 100,000 has been awaiting.
And yet, if recessions are measured over a longer span than perhaps 6 months, the last time inflation was this high in the US, the resulting recession beginning in 1981, when Ronald Reagan became president, lasted 16 months. Owen Fairclough, CGTN, Washington.